Okay, so this is a diagram question from a STAR test that everybody across the state, when this was actually in the actual STAR test, did horribly with it because they saw this crazy diagram here and they kind of freaked out a little bit and didn't follow some basic simple rules. So, and there's one like this every single time in a test, and so I don't want you taking a look at something like this and going, oh my goodness, that's terrible, I don't know how to do it. So let's follow our basic rules. I have my highlighter, I found my question mark, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to highlight my question. That way I know what it is that I'm looking for. So the question says, if a person has a blood calcium, which is Ca2+, this is calcium ions, level of 8 milligrams per 100 milliliters of blood, which of the following mechanisms does the body use to maintain blood calcium homeostasis? Well, I know this word here, right, is about keeping things in balance. So I know that I need to figure out what's the body going to do to keep calcium in balance. And I have a simple rule with diagrams like this. First rule is this: follow the arrows. Okay? Follow the arrows. So that is because the arrows show a sequence, a step by step. And typically, knowing where to start is the key. Well, stimulus. So when we were talking about the control of body temperature, if you remember with this diagram here, we started with the stimulus. So I'm going to start with the stimulus. So here, stimulus, falling blood levels. So I know this is where I'm going to start. Okay, so if the stimulus is falling blood calcium levels, where is that detected? Follow the arrow. I get to the parathyroid gland. So this is where it is detected. And just like the hypothalamus detects body temperature and the pancreas detects blood glucose level, the place where it's detected has a response. And in the case of the parathyroid gland, which is where calcium levels are detected, its response is it releases parathyroid hormone, PTH. And because it is a hormone, we know it is released in one part of the body and it goes in the bloodstream to somewhere where it makes something happen. So in the case of PTH, parathyroid hormone, follow the arrows, it takes me to the kidney. And what does it say? It stimulates calcium reabsorption, which means that the kidneys are taking in calcium in the kidneys. That, if you reabsorb calcium, you take calcium in, I know that is going to cause my Ca to go up. The other place that parathyroid hormone goes to is to the bones, right? So it travels in the blood to the bones, right? What does it do in the bones? It stimulates calcium release from the bones. So this time, we know this. We know that our bones are a huge sink. That means a store of calcium. You have been told your whole life, drink your milk because it's got lots of calcium in, and calcium is good for strong bones and teeth. Well, that calcium is stored in our bones. But if you have this hormone, PTH, travels to the bones, it stimulates the release. That means it's giving out calcium. Well, if your bones lose calcium, that's going into the blood, and that's going to cause your calcium levels to increase. The other thing that happens is this. your kidneys, right, follow the arrow, active vitamin D, vitamin D. If you look at milk, when you buy it in the grocery store, you go home tonight and you look in the refrigerator and you see you've got a carton of milk, it often says with added vitamin D. And the reason for that is that vitamin D and calcium work together. If you have a good amount of vitamin D, that makes your intestines here reabsorb calcium. So the calcium that's in your food, so things like milk, also things like dark green leafy vegetables like spinach and stuff, they're very high in calcium, but that calcium's no good if you can't absorb it from the food you eat in your intestines. So if we reabsorb calcium because we've got vitamin D, that is also going to cause our calcium levels to increase. So we got 3 separate responses because the parathyroid gland detected that calcium levels were decreasing. And these responses, if you follow them, follow the arrows, they all lead to blood calcium level rising, right? Back to its normal level, which is 10. You see here, the level in the question was 8, which is low, so it would have all these things would happen. So looking at the question, what would the body do if calcium levels decrease? Will the kidney take up more calcium? Does it? Yes, it does. That is correct. Do the bones release calcium? Look, Ca2 plus released by bones. Yes, they do. That answer was straight there in the question. The intestines increase reabsorption of Ca2 plus, right? Reabsorption, Ca2 plus, reabsorption. So that again was correct. These two here were directly in that diagram. So if I've got all 3 of these things happening, my correct answer is D, all of the above.